So I've already covered everything that's expected to come in 2026 when it comes to the MacBooks. That's the OLED M6 MacBook Pro, the M5 MacBook Air, and of course, the budget A18 Pro base MacBook. So what about Apple's desktop Macs? Get those snacks ready, and let's see what we can expect when it comes to the new Mac Mini, the new Mac Studio, and the new Mac Pro. Just like you can also grab one of these stunning Winter Wonders wallpapers from our app, Wallpapers. Link down below. First off, the Mac Mini. The M4 model introduced last year was arguably the biggest leap the Mac Mini has seen in its entire 20-year history. When Steve Jobs introduced the original G4 Mac Mini in January 2005, it created a new era of small, affordable desktop computers. So why is the M4 Mac Mini getting so much praise? Well, that's because it delivers an unmatched value for its money. For $600 or even $500, as it often goes on sale, you simply cannot build a faster desktop that's this compact, this capable, and still offers Thunderbolt support while barely using any power. It is simply in a league of its own. Now, we didn't get a new Mac Mini at all this year, so what can we expect from the 2026 Mac Mini? Well, the biggest and most notable upgrade will be the move from the M4 and M4 Pro to the M5 and M5 Pro chips, according to Mark Gurman. And the M5 is really quite a huge leap forward compared to the M4, especially when it comes to the GPU being around 18% faster in Blender and 33% faster in games such as Cyberpunk. CPU-wise, it's 15% faster in single-core and 16% faster in multi-core. And finally, when it comes to the neural engine, we're seeing an 18% improvement in Topaz AI when it comes to upscaling videos compared to the M4, and even a bigger improvement when it comes to running large language models. Apple also bumped the standard amount of RAM to 16GB last year, so I'm not expecting any changes here, with the M5 Pro likely shipping with the same 24GB starting memory, just like the M4 Pro. Apple Insider found some leaked code that indicates the M5 Mac Mini may carry the codename J873S, while the standard M5 version would be J873G. For reference, the M4 and M4 Pro Mac Minis use the identifiers J773S and J773G respectively. Now, I think it's quite unlikely that we'll see many other changes, as the design has just been updated last year, with the previous design change being in 2010. So yeah, Apple is likely to stick around with this design for at least a few more years. Same goes for the port selection, with the M5 likely to keep the 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports and 2 USB-C ports on the front, while the M5 Pro version would likely have 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports on the back and then the same 3 USB-Cs on the front. Although I am hoping that we will see 2 Thunderbolt 5 ports on the front with the M5 Pro version as well. Although this is probably quite unlikely, because even if we take a look at a Mac Studio, only the Ultra chip variant has 2 Thunderbolt ports on the front. The Max version only has USB-C on the front. Speaking of connectivity, this is also reportedly not changing, with Apple said to keep the same Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3 standards as last year, just like they did with the M5 MacBook Pro this year. I do, however, hope that the M5 Pro Mac Mini does get Wi-Fi 7, just like the M5 iPad Pro. So when can we expect this new Mac Mini, and how much will it cost? Well, I'm really hoping that Apple keeps this aggressive pricing, and based on current expectations, the starting price may indeed stay at $599. As for the release date, according to Mark Gurman, it's set to come in mid-2026 alongside a bunch of other new Apple products, which would give this Mac Mini around a June WWDC announcement. But either way, I'm really happy to see the Mac Mini updated to the M5 chip, even though it's not expected to come with any other change. You see, the M4 has already been a killer deal, and I expect the M5 to be an even better deal, thanks to its significant boost when it comes to the GPU performance and the neural engine performance. But what about its bigger brother, the Mac Studio? This one's also set to receive a chip upgrade, but this time it's the M5 Max and the M5 Ultra, according to Mark Gurman. This means that Apple will be skipping the M4 Ultra entirely, as, fun fact, the current Mac Studio comes with the M3 Ultra in its top configuration, and not the M4 Ultra. And while we don't expect any other new changes to the design or port selection, there is one huge upgrade that I'm super excited about, and that's customization. You guys remember how back in the Intel days you could customize the CPU, the GPU, and the amount of RAM when purchasing a Mac? you could have the highest end GPU without upgrading the CPU, and vice versa. Well, apparently with the M5 Max and the M5 Ultra, Apple may be bringing this back. And that's because these chips are set to feature separate CPU and GPU blocks, which would allow us to have more options when it comes to customizing these components. Long story short, you wouldn't need to upgrade to the unbinned CPU if all you needed was a full-fledged GPU. Plus, given the massive GPU upgrade that the M5 has brought to the table, the M5 Max should be absolutely insane. I wouldn't even be surprised if we end up seeing similar levels of performance to the mobile version of the RTX 5080. Yeah, I'm personally super excited about this. Let me know down below if you're going to be upgrading to an M5 Max Mac next year. As for the release date, we're expecting to see these new Mac Studios being released alongside the new Mac Minis, so more than likely at WWDC 2026 rather than early 2026. And finally, when it comes to the pricing, I'm guessing we'll have the same starting price configuration, so $1999 for the M5 Max and $39.99 for the M5 Ultra. So once again, your best bet is probably waiting a few more months after release and then grabbing a refurbished model. And finally, let's talk about the Mac Pro. This is Apple's most expensive Mac, and it hasn't been updated in over 2.5 years because, yes, it still comes with the M2 Ultra chip, 3 generations behind the current MacBook Pro. I'll be honest, this actually caught me off guard. I was at the Apple Store last week, and when I had a closer look at the Mac Pro, I was really confused as to why they were displaying the M2 Ultra version and not the M3 Ultra. And then I realized that, oh, they never actually released an M3 Ultra version. That was only the Mac Studio. So yeah, the Mac Pro is in dire need of an upgrade. And according to Mark Gurman, the bad news is that the Mac Pro may be cancelled entirely, with development on the M4 Ultra chip being halted. And this does make a lot of sense because the Ultra chips are usually created by merging 2 Max chips together. So the M2 Ultra was basically 2 M2 Max chips fused together using Ultra Fusion. And guess what the M4 Max chip doesn't have? An Ultra Fusion interconnect layer. Apparently, Apple has already moved focus to the M5 Ultra instead, which, as I mentioned, could be coming to the 2026 Mac Studio, but not to the new Mac Pro. Because yes, Gurman said that Apple has pretty much written off the Mac Pro entirely, and they're now focusing on the Mac Studio as their main high-end desktop computer moving forward. Now, while this is a bit disappointing, I can see why Apple is pulling the plug on the Mac Pro. The sales are low, as many people don't want to pay $7,000 for a slower M2 Ultra chip as opposed to the M3 Ultra Mac Studio, which comes in at $4,000. So what do you actually get for the extra $3,000? Well, you get a much larger form factor, which is a downgrade, you get a slower chip, which is also a downgrade, and then you get a few PCIe expansion slots that don't even support GPU expansion, and all they do support is extra storage and extra ports. Is that worth $3,000? No. I suppose this is just the direction that the industry is heading in, towards more efficient silicon that no longer requires massive desktop towers. Compact machines like the Mac Mini or the Mac Studio are now powerful enough while staying cool in such small enclosures. And hey, if you want to expand them further with extra ports or storage, you can just use a Thunderbolt dock and do that via just a single cable. So yeah, I definitely think it's the right move killing off the Mac Pro. It just doesn't make any sense for it to exist in the Apple Silicon era, where nothing is upgradable and everything is as compact as it can be. But how do you guys feel about Apple killing off the iconic Mac Pro after almost 20 years? Let me know down below. And as always, do subscribe for more updates on all the upcoming Macs as soon as we have them. I'm Daniel, don't forget to check out our app wallpapers for some awesome designs like this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Son of Tech, signing out. Cheers.